Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Oh, man. It's good to see everyone. Why don't we start this morning off with some worship? Come on. Hey, I'm a believer. Everything seen and unseen points to you. I'm a believer now. Everything in my heart proves you're the hate. I'm a believer now. Everything seen and unseen points to you. I'm a believer now. Everything in my heart knows you're the way, the truth, and life. Everything else is a lie. You are the one who saves and sets us free. I believe. I believe. Hey, I'm a believer now. They found a way to show me you are true. I'm a believer now. Everything in my life proves you're the hey. I'm a believer now. They found a way to show me you are true. I'm a believer now. Everything in my life proves you're the way, the truth, and life. Everything else is a lie. You are the one who saves and sets us free. I believe. I believe. I believe. I believe. Come on, let's sing this out. I believe you made us. I believe you saved us. I believe you planned our destiny. I believe you made us. I believe you saved us. I believe you planned our destiny. Come on, sing it out. I believe. I believe. Come on, let's sing this together. In the secret, in the quiet place, in the stillness, you are there. In the secret, in the quiet hour, I wait only for you, 'cause I want to know you more. Come on, sing it out. I want to know you. I want to hear your voice. I want to know you more. I want to touch you. I want to see your face. I want to know you more. I'm reaching for the highest goal that might receive the prize. Pressing onward, pushing every hindrance aside, out of my way, 'cause I want to know you more. I want to know you. I want to see your voice. I want to know you more. I want to touch you. I want to see your face. I want to know you more. I want to know you. I want to hear your voice. I want to know you more. I want to touch you. I want to see your face. I want to know you more. I want to know you. I want to hear your voice. I want to know you more. I want to touch you. I want to see your face. I want to know you more. I want to know you. I want to hear your voice. I want to know you more. I want to touch you. I want to see your face. I want to... All right, come on. Repeat after me. I want to know you. I want to know you. I want to know you more. I want to know you. I want to know you. I want to know you more. I want to know you. I want to know you. I want to know you more. I want to know you. I want to know you. I want to... Come on, let's hear his voice. I want to know you. I want to hear your voice. I want to know you more. I want to touch you. I want to see your face. I want to know you more. Things right now are different. Things are so unlike anything that we've ever dealt with before. But even through the hardest and the darkest parts of our lives and our experiences, God's always there. All we have to do is just look for him, reach out, take his hand, and follow him. No matter what, God's always going to lead us through. And all he asks is that we take his hand and we follow him. Why don't you guys sing this morning? pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Jesus only did what he saw you do. He would only say what he heard you speak. He would only move when he felt you lead, following your heart, following your spirit. How could I expect to walk without you when every move that Jesus made was in surrender? I will not begin to live without you. You alone are worthy, and you are always good. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Jesus only did what he saw you do. He would only say what he heard you speak. He would only move when he felt you leave, following your heart, following your on, sing though the world sees and soon forgets, we will not expect when we water what you've done for us, what you've done for us. Though the world sees and soon forgets, we will not forget who you are and what you've done for us, what you've done for us. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. Come on, sing it out. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. I'll pray. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Come on, guys, sing that out. Where you go, Come on, guys, just sing that out a few more times. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. What you pray, I'll pray. And what you pray, I'll pray. Where you go, I'll go. What you say, I'll say, God. And what you pray, I'll pray. What you pray, I'll pray. Father God, we thank you. We thank you for giving us the ability to be here in your presence, God. We thank you for allowing us the safety that you've given us through this past year. We thank you for health. We thank you for allowing us to be able to afford food and put it on the tables. We thank you that not once have we had to really go without. We thank you for always being there. God, we can't do this alone. We just can't. And no matter what, no matter how hard things may look, no matter how bad things may seem, you're always right there. We love you, God. We can't say it enough. We honestly love you so, so much. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Last week, we taught you guys a new song. You guys remember that one? Why don't we sing it again today, okay? All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. God is for me, He's not against me. I will hold to the plans He has for me. When I'm broken, He will fix me. I will hold on the name of the Lord. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. He's my heart song in my sorrow. He's my hope and my strength for tomorrow. When the storms rise all around me, I will call on the name of the Lord. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. Yeah. And I got joy, 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 deep in my soul. Yeah, we'll sing, 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 wherever I go. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. God is for me, He's not against me. I will hold to the plans He has for me. When I'm broken, He will fix me. I will call on the name of the Lord. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. In my heart song, in my sorrow, He's my hope and my strength for tomorrow. When the storms rise all around me, I will call on the name of the Lord. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go.
Oh, you can do that one more time, Russell. Come on. One more little time?
Sure. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. God is for me, He's not against me. I will hold to the plans He has for me. When I'm broken, He will fix me. I will call on the name of the Lord. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. He's my heart song in my sorrow. He's my hope and my strength for tomorrow. When the storms rise all around me, I will call on the name of the Lord. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go. All my life, all I know, God's been good, good to my soul. Mountain high, valley low, I'm gonna sing wherever I go.
Yes. Are you going to sing wherever you go this week, church? Russell, that extra large Coke at Arby's is on me today. Good morning. Welcome to Cornerstone Family Church. If you're visiting with us today, we are delighted to have you. Hi, church family on the sofa. I see the Barkers and Mary and Lily up in Quellview. Thank you, Quellview campus. I see I see Lisa. Y'all remember Romper Room? Am I the only one that remembers Romper Room? Come on, that was my most favorite show. There you go. I see those hands in the back. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I see Teresa. I see James. Oh, yeah. But church family, here in the building and home on the sofa, it's good to be together. And I cannot wait until we are all together. You know, a year ago, this Sunday was the last Sunday that we were corporately together for 2 months. It started it all. It started the uncertainty. It started the fear. It started the craziness. But you know, God brought us through. And I think if we were to look deep inside, that we would realize that we did a lot of growing through 2020 into 2021. And I think there were things that God had planned that He wanted to do inside of us. And I hope that you allowed Him to accomplish that. Whatever He wanted to shake off your tree, I hope that you allowed Him to do that. Like Russell said, God's been good. Oh my goodness. Even in the midst of the sorrow that we've had, We felt his presence and we felt his comfort. And God's been good. If you helped yesterday with KOZ or Go, if you were one of the leaders that helped yesterday, will you stand, please? Where'd y'all go? Y'all were here yesterday. Yes, can we give them a hand? Thank you for giving of your Saturday. My daughter had such a good time. Ladies, thank you. Men, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, leaders, for caring enough about these kids to give a Saturday a month, to impart into something that's bigger than you. And if you would like to be a part of KOZ or Go, we have an opportunity for you. I want to round up about 35 fishing poles for these kids. And if you have some in your garage that are just collecting dust, you can bring them. Or the next time you go to Sam's or Walmart or wherever it is. Now, they need the kind, I don't know anything about fishing, okay? But they need the kind with the push button, okay? That's the kind of fishing pole they need. So you guys that know about fishing, you know what I'm talking about. So either clean out your garage or go to Walmart or whatever and bring us some fishing poles, okay? Because we've got lots of kids that are going fishing this year. And this is an opportunity for those of you that aren't hands-on to be involved with KOZ or Go. Miss Pam?
Good morning. As most of you know, Easter is approaching. I think it's just 3 weeks away. Is that right? So for those of you who've been here a long time, you know that traditionally most Easters we are able to do the crucifixion reenactment live downtown on Mercer Street. Of course, last year, nothing happened. It was the big lockdown, the big shutdown. And this year, part of us was kind of waiting to see. But of course, at this point, the city of Princeton is not giving permits for anything like that. Nothing. So we had two choices. Pastor Tim and Pastor Scott have been talking, and there's two options here. You do nothing. We're tired of doing nothing. Or you make it into something that you can do. And so we are going to film. If we had known 2 years ago, we would have had the film crew 2 years ago and just would have been done. But we didn't know 2 years ago because we would have had awesome film footage, but we don't have film footage. So we are going to recreate and film and then overlay film clips with live music from our Cornerstone people and make a video presentation. So this is where you all come in, and I know this is very last minute, but as you know with COVID, you cannot plan ahead for anything, right? You just can't. So what we are needing is bodies, men, women, and children. You only have to be able to go like crucify him like really mean, or maybe look really sad in the sad parts where we are crucifying Jesus. That's really it. And you have to be able to wear a costume, okay? So those are the only requirements. But if you would like to be involved, the filming is going to happen next Saturday, and it all needs to happen in one day. And those of you who've ever been part of any filming projects, to film all of this in one day is an undertaking. So you're going to have to be prepared to commit the day and bring snacks, bring food. But we are needing bodies. So far we have about 12 people altogether committed. We need probably about 30 to pull it off. 40 would be even better to make the crowd scenes look like they're supposed to. So here is the plan. We are shooting next Saturday starting at noon. Bring food with you, bring snacks. You'll have to be prepared for it to take as long as it takes. But if you would like to be involved, and those of you who've been part of our creative things in the past, Pastor Tim was laying in bed yesterday morning and he said, Pam, I just have to create something. It's been since November 2019, since Amber put makeup on anybody. Those of you who've done some of our theater stuff, like musically you guys have been creating. Musically you guys have gotten back to creating. But those of you who are more in the theater and the sets and the crafting and the makeup and all those things, you know, you guys need to create as well. God created you to do that. And so those of you who want to be a part, next Saturday noon, and we will have to shoot on location. Pastor Tim, you know Pastor Tim, he wants us to look like it's supposed to. And if we shoot here at Cornerstone, it would be like Cornerstone in the background and concrete and parking lot and cars going by. So we have 2 locations that we're going to be driving to shoot. Top secret locations, but y'all be praying for sunshine next week. 55 degrees would be great, so Jesus and the thieves don't freeze to death. But if we can get sunshine and a sunset, I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing. Even if we don't get a sunset, it's still going to be cool. But here's what we need you to do, though. If you're interested, we need you to come by the Teen Center either tonight at 5 o'clock or this Tuesday between 5 and 6 to try a costume on. Because we need to know how many people we're going to have committing next Saturday. So if you can be a part, your kids want to be a part, tonight at 5 or Tuesday at 5, so we can costume you, give you just a little bit more information, and then we will film next Saturday. And one other thing we're going to do tonight at 5, for anyone who can come, it's time to clean the campus up. Easter's coming. There's so much trash out on both campuses, ours and the church and the Teen Center. It's just because of winter and our location. And Miss Susie said Pastor Scott was out. I mean, I know Pastor Scott goes out with a bag every week. And I know my dad even comes by and does along the road every week almost. But we need to do the whole campus. The creek, it's bad. And now is the time before it starts turning green and we can't see the trash. But we need to get it out. So if you can come at 5 o'clock tonight, wear old shoes. If you have waders, that'd be awesome. Bring gloves, bring some trash bags, bring reachers, like those little grabber things. And we're going to spend like 30 or 40 minutes tonight cleaning up the campus while we try on costumes. And then it's the first day of staying late, so we might go for ice cream if anyone wants to.
We don't do anything without going for ice cream around here. This morning, as we get ready to give, we get to be here. We get to be in this building. I never thought that there would come a time that I would not be able to say that. We get to be here and we get to give this morning. God, thank you for your provision that comes from you, God, into our families by whatever means it comes, God. Thank you, God, that we have hearts to share and not to hoard it all up and to store it in our barns. Thank you, God, that we choose to build bigger tables. Amen. Just bring your tithe and offering forward, please, and children 3rd through 6th grade, gather at the back door for Kids Church.
Wasn't me. Good morning, guys. Everybody okay? You sure? Let's see, how many didn't get their clocks set up? Well, this is about a normal COVID crowd, isn't it? So we're not doing too bad. What's up, Toddster? Okay, so when we come together as a church, the primary thing that we're supposed to do when we come together is disciple, right? We're supposed to disciple people. We do all kinds of other things. We do praise and worship, and we do just all kinds of other things, but the primary thing that the body of Christ assembles to do is to disciple. And there's really 2 categories of discipleship. There's foundational teaching, and then there's character building teaching. And they're just kind of different. The foundational stuff is we do a lot of foundational stuff, and the foundational stuff, some of it's deeper than other things. And I have definitely learned that deep is a very relative term in the body of Christ. It's very subjective what people call deep. What I call deep and someone else calls deep might be two very different things. For me, deep is when you're exploring the concepts of the kingdom of God, the main thing that Jesus taught, the kingdom of God and what it means to be kings in that kingdom and the authority that is being given to us. To me, that's the deepest stuff that can ever be preached. I realized that actually last week what we talked about with mercy, you can't get any deeper than that. That's as deep as it goes. If you don't get that, then why do you even think that there is something deeper than that? I was thinking this morning, though, as I was pondering, well, actually all morning, because I didn't even go to bed last night, and I was pondering, just reflecting, letting my brain go wherever it wanted to go as my allergy medicine backfired on me, and I was wired all night. I was thinking years ago there was a family who I knew they were dissatisfied and they wanted to leave, and I kept hearing that the woman kept saying she just wasn't getting fed. She needed something deeper and deeper, and they left, and I finally cornered them months afterwards, and I said, I've got to know, what is it that you're looking for that is deeper? Because I don't understand where we can go that's deeper than the kingdom of God. Well, come to find out what that person called deep was, she wanted end times teaching, the left behind stuff. And she considered that the deep teaching. Well, I consider that like the most shallow thing you could ever dip your toe into. And it reminded me that deep is a subjective term. Well, beside the foundational teaching, there's the teachings that we carve on people's character, their nature. There's a term for it that we don't usually use in church anymore, and it's probably good because it was a really misrepresented term. The term is godliness. Godliness. Now, if you grew up in Pentecostal circles like I did, you probably heard that term a whole lot more. You've got to be godly. Godliness. The trouble was it was misrepresented because to be godly means that you didn't smoke, you didn't drink, you didn't fornicate, you didn't smoke those cigarettes. You know, that was to be godly. The term godliness literally means to be like God, like God's nature. If being godly means God doesn't cuss, so I don't cuss, well, it's just not an issue, because that's really pretty shallow. Not that you shouldn't watch your language, because like I've told you before, it's really not a godliness issue, it's an intelligence issue, really. But to be godly means to study the nature of God, the character of God, and then to intentionally let Him carve those same attributes in you. Godliness. And if we're not becoming godly, then there's no point in us being here. If we're just here for a get-out-of-hell-free card and a free gold ticket to heaven and for Jesus to bless our socks off while we're here, we've missed the whole point. The point is that we're in a kingdom and we are kings, and the kings are supposed to start looking like the king. I love a passage in Ezekiel where Ezekiel sees this picture of this carving of a sculpture, if you will. And he's saying, show the house to the house. He's prophesying, he's basically saying, show the church the model that they're being carved in. And Jesus is the model, and the church is being carved to look like Jesus. And if we're not intentionally allowing Him to carve His nature in us, then we're missing the whole point. And we think that eternity is hanging out there just because and we're ready to go because we responded to an altar call and we repeated a sinner's prayer. Let me tell you, eternity is what God has promised for those who become like Him. And to become like Him has nothing to do with perfection, as we would say. Well, now I'm like God because I don't drink anymore, and I don't smoke, and I don't cuss, and I'm nice to everybody. Godliness is way beyond that. Godliness is looking at the nature of Jesus Christ, because God's nature was so misconstrued and misunderstood that Jesus came, God in flesh, so we could get a front row seat. Here's the nature of God, the character of God. And it was so different than people thought. Today I'm going to preach godliness and a very specific point. something that is bigger than what you might think. And I'm telling you, the American church, if we are hinging on any one thing right now that we're missing when it comes to the character of God expressed through the person of Jesus Christ, it would be this one attribute. And it has become a major character flaw in not just our culture, but even in the body of Christ. Look at this in Matthew 27, just a little bit here. As we prepare for Easter, as they were going out, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, and they forced him to carry Jesus' cross. And they came to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. And there they offered Jesus wine to drink mixed with gall. And by the way, this was something that was supposed to deaden the senses so the pain wouldn't be so bad. Jesus rejected it because he felt like as the sacrifice, he needed to experience the pain that sin had brought. But after tasting it, he refused it. And when they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots. And sitting down, they kept watch over him there. Above his head, they placed the written charge against him. This is Jesus, King of the Jews. 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. And those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, "You who are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. Come down from the cross if you are the Son of God." In the same way, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders mocked him. He saved others, they said, but he can't save himself. He's the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him, for he said, "I am the Son of God." In the same way, the robbers who were crucified with him also heaped insults on him. This is a microcosm of the bigger picture of Jesus' life. For 3 years of ministry, this man is walking through the earth, and he's expressing grace and mercy and love like humanity had never seen before. And what he got back from the religious folks was usually insults. Just insults. Last week, I referenced this picture at the end of our message, and I remind you that there Jesus is hanging on the cross. They have beat him. They have mocked him. They've insulted him. They've plucked out his beard. They have been as cruel as human beings could ever be cruel to somebody else. And the man looks out across the crowd, and Mark is the one disciple that remembers, in the midst of this that we just read from Matthew's account, Mark remembers him looking at that same crowd that insulted him. And he said, "Father, forgive them, because they don't understand what they're doing." I want to talk to you today about an attribute of character that if it becomes a flaw, it could become the stumbling block that completely stops you in your tracks concerning God's call for your life. I want to talk to you about the spirit of offense. With Jesus being the pattern, as he hangs on that cross, everything has come to a head with how they have treated him. And this man, in his nature, refuses to be offended. Here's the definition of the spirit of offense: feeling resentful, hurt, or angry because of an actual or perceived insult. Feeling hurt, angry, insulted because of what somebody has said to you or about you or around you. It may be real. It may be something that you think happened, but the result would be the same. It's interesting with the story of Jesus because we're seeing the comparison between Jesus and religious people when it comes to the spirit of offense. Because they are going out of their way to insult him throughout 3 years of ministry. They're insulting him time after time. And he never gets offended. And because he never gets offended, he stays the course. His mind is sharp. It's focused. And he stays the course and he runs his race. Interesting, the Pharisees, the religious leaders, the religious crowd, story after story talks about how offended they became because of things that Jesus said. They felt insulted, so they were offended. What a comparison between the nature of Jesus and the nature of religious people. That the one who had the right to truly be offended was never offended and therefore accomplished his purpose in the earth. And those who were supposed to be all that were constantly being offended. What's the origin of this spirit of offense that we so commonly, especially in America now, more than ever before, this spirit of offense that we entertain, that we invite into our life, the origins of it? Well, first of all, it can be learned behavior, literally what the Bible would refer to as a generational curse. There are people who are easily offended because it's all they know, because their mommy or their daddy or both of them, their grandparents, aunts, uncles, the people that were the role models in their life, they were easily offended, and therefore it was passed down to the next generation. It's something for people to think about, who are easily offended, always upset because of something somebody says to them or something they at least perceive was said. It could be something mono, it could be something big in the whole nation because of something, a political figure, or some figure over here that's on the news, something they say, and suddenly we're offended again. It could be learned behavior. It could be something that people entertain simply because they're spoiled. They have an incessant need for other people to agree with them and to cater to them because they were raised in that way where they always got their way. And if you're raised where you always get your way, it bleeds into that realm of opinions. And if people don't agree with your opinions, now you feel offended. The spirit of offense can be in people because they've been wounded in the past. And now they're hypersensitive. And they're getting offended over things that somebody else right beside of them might even be confused. Now, why are you so offended? I got to tell you, I find myself in that situation often with people that I talk to, that I'm trying to help build back up, and I'm trying to minister to them. I'm trying to pull out of them what's wrong, what has happened to you, and they're offended. And when I find out why they're offended inside, I'm like, really? Really? But I also often find out that it's somebody who has been wounded in the past, so wounded that now they're hypersensitive, and now they become easily offended. The spirit of offense is common in our nation right now simply because of the failure to teach realistic expectations. And when we have unrealistic expectations in life, when people do things and they say things and they act certain ways around us, then we're easily set off, we're easily offended, we're easily hurt, we're easily angered. It's that trophy generation that I know that people, if they're in that category, probably get tired of us talking about, but it doesn't matter. It is reality that we have raised a generation where everybody wins and everybody gets a prize. And then when they get out there in life and life does not work that way, they're easily hurt and they're easily offended. Now we find ourselves in a brand new place. From the beginning of time and all the different cultures throughout history, now we find ourselves for the first time in a culture, in an age, where the spirit of offense is now being taught and programmed into us. The media pulls our strings, and we brainlessly respond when they say, time and time and time again, on every show, on every news channel, whether it's conservative or whether it's liberal, where they say it multiple times a night, you should be offended. They tell us. We don't know what anybody's really doing out there because everything is spun and we get their version. I hear speeches all the time, and then I hear the follow-up from the people in the media, and they say, here's what they said. And I'm sitting there going, I just heard what the person said. That is not what they just said. But we dangle from strings. The puppet master, the false prophet, dangles us by the strings and tells us, here's how you should feel. Here's how you should think. You should be offended by this. You should be angry about this. And as Geppetto pulls the strings, we, the brainless Pinocchios, we just dance. We dance. The product of the spirit of offense is quite destructive. People who are offended shut down. Solomon said it this way. He said, a person with an offended spirit is like a city who shuts up its gates. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. What a perfect description of an offended person. Whether it's a person who's been personally offended by another individual, at work, a friend, at church, by a pastor, co-worker, a husband, a wife, a neighbor, someone has offended them, and now they're just shutting down. Nothing's getting in, nothing's getting out. It's the same way when people become offended in a nation because of things going on in our culture. When we get offended about what's going on in politics or the whole pursuit of social justice, and we become offended about whatever's going on, we begin to shut down. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. A spirit of offense ripples into the soul, and it causes people to be cynical. It causes them to have bad attitudes, and they withdraw. A spirit of offense shrinks people's view to where now they're just looking at life through peepholes. The spirit of offense can blind us to where we can't even legitimately see the truth. The spirit of offense becomes a filter that we view life from. And now, no matter how people are saying things, we're hearing it differently because it's being filtered by the offense in our soul. It divides people. It so divides us when we're offended that we seek justified revenge in turning others against the ones that we are angry at. Our ones who offended us. Whether in the small picture, an individual that has offended me, or in the big picture of a nation, a political party, or a political leader, or this group, or that agency. Whatever has offended me, now I am so offended that I seek justified revenge to turn others against that person that I'm offended at because somehow it makes me feel better. The spirit of offense. We now live in a highly divided nation. So offended, we can no longer actually address the issues without further offense. There's so many filters, so many peepholes that we're looking through, that now we are so divided that we've never been less able to sit down at tables and talk about our differences. Every word that we would try to use in that conversation is a word that can't be used anymore because it's offensive, and now we don't even know. And I will be the first to admit I no longer even know how to sit down and talk to people about certain issues in America because I don't know the verbiage that I can use without offending them. Back in the summer with all the social unrest, I reached out to one of my long pastor friends for many years to try to see how can I help build bridges in this. And instantly, what came back at me just instantly began to shut me down. It's like, I don't know how to have this conversation. It seems like no matter how innocently I tried to have conversation, it seemed like I was just offending more, and I couldn't even understand how I was being offensive. Because we're so programmed and conditioned by terms and words and things that people say, you should be offended. And the sad thing is, if we grab our strings and we pull up, it's not Geppetto dangling us from those strings. It's not even the media. It's not even political figures. It's the spirit of Antichrist himself dangling us from strings. Well, in the Bible, when people had unclean spirits, they had exorcisms. And I believe that the body of Christ in America is due a good old-fashioned exorcism when it comes to this spirit of offense. What can we do about it today? How can we exorcise this demon from our life? Well, first of all, you and I need to understand, without there being any exceptions, that the spirit of offense is simply a form of self-righteousness. When I am offended because I am right about something and you were wrong about it. Now, a lot of you here today aren't as old as this guy right here. But I want you to know that 30 years ago, I was never wrong about anything. And my wife will vouch for that. The perfect man. All of my thoughts, all of my opinions, whatever I said, I was confused why everybody couldn't see life the way that I could see it. And if you couldn't see it my way, all I could do was pray for you that you would grow up, or that God would give you somehow clarity or wisdom. And now, 30 years later, I look back at my many opinions in life that were not right. Things I've preached that were not right. Opinions I held about people and politics and how life should work in a nation and how life should work in a local church and how life should work in a marriage and how life should work raising children. And you know, I'm just not a man with a whole lot of opinions anymore. But the truth is, especially if we're a person who gets offended a lot, it is the indication of a self-righteous spirit. And that's got to go. We need to understand that. Just accept it. We need to learn to pray through our offenses. Pray before you say. Learn to do that before you say, whether it's on social media or opening this thing right here. Learn to pray before you say. Because when you're hurt, when you're offended, and you open your mouth, I'm telling you, the stuff that comes out is not going to be good. Learn to pray through your offenses. Guys, I, as a pastor, for many, many years, and in ministry more years than that, I have spent time with so many people with an offended spirit, trying to help them and counsel them and minister to them and pull them out of that pit. And when I ask people who are offended, have you prayed about this? Most of them have been honest enough to say, I was too mad to pray. I was too hurt to pray. You see, offended people feel a justifiable right to hold on to their emotions. They feel justified. No, I'm hurt. And yes, I'm acting like a butthole because of it, but I have earned the right to act like this because I've been hurt and I've been offended. But what if we can get alone in a solitary place with the Lord when we feel that offense coming on? And what if we talk to Jesus about it? Do you think it'll make a difference? We've got to Stay in the Word. Renew our mind concerning our identity. The truth is if we say, I no longer live, then Christ lives in me, that I've been crucified with Christ, that means I am a dead man now. I am dead. Scott is dead. How many of you guys would say, you no longer live, but Christ lives in you? At least in theory, this is it, right? This is our battle cry. I got to tell you, dead men don't get offended. Dead men don't get offended. The truth is that every time we're offended, no matter what it is, the offense takes place in our flesh, not that part of our spirit who is Christ. Christ does not get offended. He proved that for 3 years. You can't offend the man. So if we're offended, it's our flesh. And that's why we've got to stay in the Word, constantly renewing our mind, being reminded of who we are. We've got to learn to guard our heart. Time and time again, the Bible speaks about guarding our heart. The breastplate of righteousness speaks of guarding our heart. The helmet of salvation, guarding our mind. The fiery darts come to hurt. They come to offend. They come to topple you off of your thrones. We've got to learn to guard our heart. How? With the Word, with prayer, with fellowship, being in worship, in the presence of God. Guard our hearts. And the last thing that I will tell you when it comes to how we exercise this spirit of offense from our nature is, if I can tie back to last Sunday, we've got to learn how to forgive and show mercy. Jesus showed mercy to the people that was hurting him, the people that was insulting him, the people that was calling him names, the people that beat him. He was showing mercy and he was forgiven. And now I'm called to be Christ, not Scott. If Scott is dead, then and Christ lives in me, Christ forgives. Christ shows mercy. And you can all get in a big line and stand here and one after another start telling me, but you don't know what happened to me. Guys, there's nothing new under the sun. Every one of us in this room can relate to offense in life, to hurt in life. I know we want to feel justified in harboring our offense. But if you're going to be a child of God, you've got to learn to cast this spirit out of your life. Look at 1 Peter chapter 2. But how is it to your credit if you receive a beating for doing wrong and endure it? But if you suffer for doing good and you endure it, this is commendable before God. To this you were called because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps. He committed no sin, and no deceit was found in his mouth. When they hurled their insults at him, he did not retaliate. When he suffered, he made no threats. Instead, he entrusted himself to him who judges justly. I am at peace, knowing that those who have hurled insults at me, judged me wrongly, some of them rightly, by the way, still hurt me. I'm at peace today knowing that that's in God's hands, not my hands. I am at peace in the bigger picture today, knowing that I am living in a culture that is still the most blessed culture in the history of humanity, but it is really messed up right now. It is commandeering the souls, even in the body of Christ, and manipulating. Even Christians hanging by the strings and being manipulated. Programmed to be insulted, programmed to be hurt, programmed to become angry. I am at peace today knowing that all of that is in the hands of my judge. I can't do anything about it. I can love, I can forgive, I can show mercy. You've got to make this adjustment because the world does not. They're not going to make that adjustment. The world is always going to be hurling their insults. They're always going to be attacking. They're always going to be hurting. I love marriage. I love my wife. I think I married the most wonderful woman in the world, and I know she would say that double coming back at me. But the truth is, if you're married, you're going to get hurt. And you're going to feel insulted at times. Have you been a parent? Hurt? Do your teenagers ever insult you? Not in my house, but I've heard it happens in your house. If you've got friends, if you go to a job, if you go to a church, the world's not going to adjust to you. You've got to adjust. Yeah, I had a weird running week this week. We did a bunch of us, well, I say a bunch of us, from our running club and from the church, Kaylin, Daniel, and I, and we went to run a little race last night in Richlands. I hate evening races. In the evening, I'm done. There's no energy left, but we're all so hungry for races, and I was so curious to see what was going to happen to me last night after this week of running, because every day that I ran, something unusual happened to me. So last night, it's like I ran the race and actually was really happy with myself considering, and then at the end, for just about the third time in my life, I developed what's called runner's rhinitis. And I guess it's because there was something, pathogens in the air down there I wasn't used to, and I started sneezing and snotting, and went home, popped a couple Benadryl, and that's supposed to kind of knock you out, right? And I went to bed. I was feeling, oh man, this is kicking in. This is good. And I laid down, and all of a sudden, it kicked in all right. And it did just the opposite of what it was supposed to do. And I was wired, and my head was plugged up with snot. I couldn't breathe, and then I got the Jimmy legs on top of that. So I just got up, and I sat in the chair all night long, and I stared, and I've learned all kinds of new things about Hitler and World War II, and I was so happy that we lost an hour's sleep because I was that much closer to the night just getting over with. It's like I didn't know what was going to happen with that race, but I knew something was going to happen because it just had to. And I'll go in reverse chronological order from last night. Friday, I was running, and Lewis is my testimony here, my witness. He saw it, and he texted me and checked on me later. I about got ran over. Running in front of Hardee's, and I am the kind of person that I'll run behind cars. I don't trust anybody that's sitting anywhere to pull out. I've been pulled out on too many times. I've slapped the hoods of cars when they've pulled out on me. It's like, hey! People are real bad about just looking this way and then hitting the gas pedal and taking off. This young lady, I felt perfectly safe by what I was seeing to run in front of her at Hardee's. But she looked one way, and I started in front of her, and all of a sudden, she hit the gas pedal, and I found out just how fast I can move. I'm telling you, Lewis saw it. I was that close to death. Thursday is a day off from running. Wednesday, I was running in the city park on the trails, and I'm still adjusting from running on the road to trails. When you run on the road, you don't pick your feet up real high because you're conserving energy. When you get on a trail, if you don't pick your feet up, you're going to face plant. So I was not picking my feet up, and there's roots everywhere. So guess what I did? I face planted. And it's one of those things, you're running and you're going down a little hill and you hit the little root, and you know how you start going forward and you're trying to catch yourself, and for like 50 yards you're falling. And you can never recover, and you're getting closer to the ground, and you're picking up speed. Thank God it was really cold, and I had gloves on to absorb the impact. But the day before Tuesday was the good day of running. Because I was running down through a neighborhood, and there's always yappy dogs. Thank you. Trying to kick up my PTSD over here. Hereafter, I've been bragging on dogs and giving cats down the road. This stinking Chihuahua. First of all, you need to know, I don't consider Chihuahuas dogs. They are in the rodent family. They are not dogs. I am a dog person. I'm sorry if I've offended you. Join with all the cat people and be offended. I was thinking take a cat over a Chihuahua. It's a rat. And this rat was fat. He was a fat rat. And I saw him coming at me. But little dogs have come after me before. They stop about that short and they just run beside of you and yap. And he didn't. This dog, when he was 3 feet from me, went airborne and latched onto my leg. And I'm running down the road trying to shake this rat off my leg. I had compression gear on. I won't call them running tights because you'll make fun of me if I do that. My compression gear, and I turned around, I was going to punt that stinking rat as far as I could. And for a fat Chihuahua, he was quick, man. And he just kept looking at me going, "Yo quiero Taco Bell." And he was taunting me, man, and he was hurling insults at me. And so I just keep going, and I can feel my leg. It's like, man, that really hurts. But I looked down, there wasn't a hole in my compression gear. But then I get home, and I strip down to take a shower, and my leg's bleeding, and, I need like 8 stitches or something in my leg. It really wasn't that bad. I held it together with a piece of toilet paper. It was fine. But then I called animal control. I called, my wife, and she hooks me up with all the people who really know, what do I need to do? Should I worry about tetanus? And I call animal control, and or rabies is the big thing, because, all I saw was Cujo coming at me. That's all I saw. And Lynn tells me, she said, well, unless you start foaming at the mouth and just really start losing it and you don't know where you're at or anything, I wouldn't worry about it. But isn't it too late after that? If you're foaming at the mouth, it's too late for shots. But seriously, as I thought about that through the week as I was pondering where we were going this morning, it's like the world is full of yappy little Chihuahuas. Have you noticed what a bad attitude they have? I'm a Great Dane guy. My Great Danes have just been laid back and low maintenance and just so easy to get along with. And why do little dogs have such an attitude? It was like back in the bar days, it was the little guy. The little guy this tall that was in a truck jacked up that high, trying to compensate, and he was always the one starting trouble in the bars. Little stinking Chihuahuas, man. And life is full of them. And they're constantly yap, 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 yap. They never stop. Have you noticed little dogs never stop yapping? It's life. The Chihuahuas aren't going anywhere. The world is filled with little yappy dogs with a bad attitude. They're angry. We don't know why they're angry. They're going to insult. They're going to hurt. They're hurt, so they want to hurt someone else. It's not going away. It's not going away. You're going to have to learn to do what I did with that little Chihuahua. We're just going to have to outrun it. Knock it off and outrun it. I want you to know that this love thing that we preach here, love and offense cannot coexist. They can't do it. And you know it. You've seen it in your own life and people around you. When they're offended, they don't love the same. They're angry. They don't want to love. And on top of that, the spirit of offense and this ministry call that we've been talking about since the first of the year, as we've been preaching ministry, ministry, ministry. God's called you to ministry. I'm telling you, it will not coexist with the spirit of offense. It can't do it. I have had many, many pastor friends through the years. Most of them have very thick skin. You can't be in ministry very long if you don't have thick skin. But I've had a couple friends who became very offended in their positions. And I'm telling you, they were almost useless in ministry. It was coloring how they saw life, how they were reacting to their congregations. Ministry, the call of God, the spirit of offense cannot coexist. This is on us. This is not something that's going to get fixed because even if we could give an altar call today and stay within the guidelines and go around and lay hands on everybody, that's not how we can get rid of this spirit of offense. It takes an open honesty for people to look in the mirror and say, I have a problem with this. You all know there are people who are more easily offended than other people. We all know people that we walk on eggshells around because we know anything we say is going to offend them. Maybe that's you that I'm talking to. It's going to be our responsibility to let Jesus teach us how to have an exorcism of this thing and get rid of it out of our life. You do not have to stay this way. You cannot be happy and live that way. And whether it's because you get offended by individuals, or if I'm speaking to even more today who are constantly staying offended by what's happening in American culture, I'm telling you, you're only hurting yourself. It's not changing anything. It's not fixing anything. And I promise you, it's bleeding into your marriage. It's bleeding into your home with your children. It's affecting them, maybe infecting them. It's bleeding into your friendships at churches, on your job. People are going to see you. They're going to start running from you because it's like, because you're going to be puking. Everywhere you're going to be puking out your offense. You're just hurting yourself. Get set free from this thing. Cut the strings. Stop letting people dangle and control you and programming you with what you should be offended about, what you shouldn't. Because there's things we need to work on in America. There's race relation stuff we need to work on, but we've never been less likely to work on those things than right now in America. I'm telling you, productive conversations can't even happen right now in America with race relations because everyone is so easily offended. Nobody can just sit down and have just some honest, truthful conversations. For our nation to get healed with all the political divide, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and everybody is so offended. And if you watch CNN or you watch Fox or you watch whatever, everyone that comes on with every program, they're so heated up and they're so angry. And they want you to be angry with them. They want you to be offended with them. Stop letting the spirit of Antichrist dangle you like a puppet on strings. You are God's children, sons of the Most High, kings and priests in the earth. You are the head and not the tail. You are seated with Christ Jesus in heavenly places. You are the redeemed. You are righteous. Stop living in the dust of the earth and get into these heavenly realms. Because in heavenly realms, we no longer live. It's Christ that lives in us. We're dead, and dead men don't get offended. It's a great world. Father, today, Lord, help us be honest with ourselves. Help us, Lord, not to excuse things in us. We see it in other people, and we don't excuse it in others, but we want to excuse it in ourselves. Help us to find the boldness and the courage to look in the mirror and say, that's going to change starting today. Lord, you have a purpose for our lives. You have a destiny for us, days you've planned for us. And Lord, you have helped me realize, especially the last couple of weeks, that the single biggest stumbling block probably in most of the American church's life is this spirit of offense. It's just building a dam. And it's destroying bridges. Father, there are those who would think this topic wouldn't be all that big a deal. You've convinced me it's a huge deal. Today, Lord, help us to just go pray. Talk to you about it. Let your Spirit heal our wounds. And I want to challenge you guys. Isaiah said that when he came, he would come and he would bind up our wounds. We're always thinking physical with those Isaiah passages. Have you ever noticed it? None of those Isaiah prophecies are talking about the body at all. It's talking about the body of Christ. By his stripes we're healed. That's speaking of our souls being healed back to God and coming and healing our wounds. Yeah, I'm grateful that if I fall and get scuffed up, he brings healing to my body. But the big thing for God is the eternal part of who you are. He wants to bind up your wounds, but you've got to let him do it. You've got to let him heal you where you're hurt, where you're offended. You've got to let him do that. And you've got to let us help with that also. All right? You okay with that? All right then. Well, I feel a lot better, Austin. I done puked on you guys and I feel better about it. I love you guys. Have a great, great week.